I'm speaking with Liberty Leavitt. She is a candidate for the Clark County School District Board of Trustees. She is running for the District A seat. Thank you so much, Liberty, for speaking with me. And I want to ask you, for people who may not be familiar with you, who are you and why are you running for this seat?
Sure. Thanks so much, Kristen, for having me today. So first and foremost, I was born and raised here, and I actually grew up in the community that I wish to serve. I was a teacher, a magnet team coordinator, and administrator at Central Office for 14 years at CCSD. And through my time and experience there, I really noticed the disconnect that exists between our schools and Central Office, as well as our Central Office and the community. And so I really want to bring that insight, that experience to the board and kind of bridge that gap that exists kind of between our community and the school district. With that too, for the last 10 years, I've worked in community relations and outreach and development. And what I've noticed is, or what I've done is I've established a number of different relationships, bipartisan relationships with community leaders, local businesses and organizations. And I also want to bring them into the fold and kind of give them a voice on the board too, because I think they have some great insight to bring as well.
What motivated you to want to run?
Really, it was that disconnect that I noticed, right? That our community was seeing one thing, feeling one thing, parents and families, our teachers felt ignored, our educators felt ignored. Central Office, I don't know that they were as tightly connected with our schools as they should be. So for me, it was really being able to kind of bring that perspective of an educator as well as an administrator, as well as somebody who grew up in this community and serve on the board.
Right now, you are a new mom and you have a very young daughter. So how do you want to change the school district to make it better for future students?
Sure, I think that's a great question. And for me, having my daughter has really been instrumental in me running, to be honest, too, as well. I should have said that before. But I think the biggest thing, too, for me is autonomy. I really believe that each school is, kind of their own individual city, if you will. And I think that the stakeholders at each school really understand the needs of their community, of their kids, everything. And so what I'd like to do is bring more of a voice to the school, to our educators, our administrators, our support staff, our parents, and the community that's involved in each school. So there's that. Also, equity in education. Right now, my job, I work at CORE, an education nonprofit, where we focus on equity, and we work with students from 6th grade until 2 years post-graduation at West Prep Academy. And so with that, I think we really need to focus on, really fixing the inequities that exist in our district, and unfortunately are most impacting our brown and black students. So there's that for me as well. I would like to see more trades brought into our schools. I currently work with Workforce Connections and the school district, where we are trying to bring trades starting at the elementary level to the high school level, because I don't believe that every student is destined or wants to go to a four-year college or university. So we need to equip them with the tools they need in order to go into employment or have a skill post-graduation as well. So those are three of my kind of big things. But also too, I have to say, Kristen, another one for me is I do think that we need to start looking at what are other schools and school districts outside of CCSD doing that are making them successful, and we need to start implementing that into our schools as well. So I think, as opposed to kind of just closing off and not trying to learn from whether it be charter schools and private schools here or school districts across the country, but we need to really understand where we're seeing those successes, and we need to implement them here at CCSD.
The big issue right now for a lot of families and constituents is distance education.
Sure.
I've been reading about it. I've been reporting about it. So if you are elected to this seat, and if there hasn't been a vote yet to go back to the classroom or find a way, hybrid model, what would you do, and what do you want to say to families about your position on distance education?
Well, listen, I'll be frank on this. I think our kids need to be back in school. We see this as a decline of mental health, youth mental health, but let's talk about the mental health of our parents right now and our educators. So my goal is to get our kids back in school. What I will say to that though is we need to ensure that our educators, our families, our kids, everyone feels safe in doing so, because that's number one. I understand why educators are nervous about going back. I understand that until we have ensured their safety, that we have put every precaution in place to ensure their safety as well as the kids, that they are very, tentative about going back. I know that there are educators are also concerned about the hybrid model. They just learned all of these new things for online learning, right? That would be another kind of learning curve that they're going to have to go through. And to that point, I think many of them would prefer to either go back or stay online. So for me, I think the most important thing is, Kristen, is that we have everybody at the table. We have parent groups, we have educators, we have the teachers union, we have the administrators union, we have everybody at the table to really map out what is it going to take to get our kids in school, because that needs to be our number one priority.
The candidate you are running against works very closely with unions. She is actually an executive director of the ESEA. So how do you also plan to work with unions and especially maybe even those support professionals?
No, 100%. Great question. So number one, I was endorsed by the CCEA, the Clark County Educators Association. So I already kind of work very closely with them in the sense of I listen to their concerns, and I want to work with them going forward because I want to make sure that we can get them back in the classroom. I think unions are important. I think that they are the voice for the masses, and I think that they are attempting to do what's best for those that serve in their union. So I will plan on working incredibly close with them, and I think that going forward, they all want to go back in school at some point too.
This election, 4 seats are essentially up for grabs.
Right.
One of them, District D, has Lola Brooks, who's the president and an incumbent, but the seat you're running for, along with 2 others, bringing in brand new faces to the board. So how do you think that may change the dynamic?
You know what? I think it's going to bring a positive change. To be honest, I think that we need a change in the board right now. I think that what we're seeing is a level of dysfunction that is really harming our students at this point, right? I mean, because they are not the forefront of everything that the board is doing, in which case they should be. So I think there are going to be some great new fresh faces. I think a lot of us already know each other. Many of us, in fact, I know every last person that is running. But so we all know each other, and we all kind of have that background on each other as well. But I got to be honest, Kristen, I think families and I think educators really welcome that change.
Do you think that it may allow the board to be more unified? And do you think the board right now is unfortunately divided?
I think that we can see it, right, when we watch those meetings. I think that it's apparent that it's divided. And I think that's unfortunate. And, I'm not pointing fingers at any which way. I think that, just unfortunately that's occurred as we've seen across our country, right? I mean, we're not exactly a cohesive, unified unit right now. But with that, I absolutely think that new faces, new ideas. If you look at a number of the other folks running, they have experience in education, or they have experience in terms of working with schools or programs within our schools. And I think they're going to bring, incredible new ideas and just a perspective that maybe it's been missing from the board. But I think that it's going to be a real positive change.
If you are elected, how would you want to work with your colleagues in regards to working with the superintendent, especially during these uncertain times going forward?
Sure. Well, I think it's really key to remember what the role of the board is, right? Our role is not to basically babysit the superintendent or, kind of dictate everything that goes on at the district. Our goal is to entrust him to implement the programs and policies that we see are necessary in order for student achievement. So our goal is really to make him successful, right, in his endeavors, and hold ourselves accountable for the policies and procedures that we put in place as well. So I think that's first and foremost. But what I will say is, I think every single trustee has something to bring to the table. I think they have a passion. I think they have some experience, and we're all different. And I think we need to really respect that about each other and understand that. I think we have enough contentious, you know, political, excuse my language, but garbage that's going on. And I think at this point in time, what we really need to do is come together as unified, group, respecting one another and moving towards what our role is, and that is strictly to increase student achievement and support our students and our families at CCSD.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, Liberty, about running for the District A seat?
Oh man, Kristen, at this point, no, but just let me know if I have huge bags under my eyes, please, and do a little cleaning up. And is there anything, happy to answer any other questions or anything, and I hope I didn't ramble on too long for you.
All right. Well, no, I think you did great. Thank you so much again for speaking with me.
Yeah, absolutely.